love covers a multitude of sin. He said, love each other deeply. He says, love covers a multitude of sin. And I began to see that, you see, when love is gone from a marriage, there's no more covering for those sins. You begin to see his fault, her faults. Nothing is covering their imperfections anymore. When that happens in a marriage, that love is gone. Be careful about telling the couple to stay together. Listen to me carefully. I am not saying they should divorce. All I'm saying is be careful about leaving them to stay together. Hello guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new to my channel, hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Sama. So in this video I want to share with you guys about a pastor that was knifed as he was trying to separate a fight between a husband and wife. I'll read it to you guys exactly how it is on the news. This is by Ikechukwu Iwe Ajunwa, and then it says the Imo State Police Command has confirmed the death of a senior pastor of a Redeemed Christian Church of God, RCCG in Owerri, Thompson Onyekuru, while trying to separate a fight between a couple in the state. The police confirmed the incident in a statement on Monday by the command spokesperson SP Mike Abatam. Abatam said that the incident occurred at Umukoto Nekede in Owerri, adding that Onyekuru was a pastor with the Redeemed Christian Church of God in the state. The police said that Onyekuru, 62, was trying to prevent Obumneke from stabbing his wife Ogechukwu during the fight between the couple before he was. Abatam said that the husband Obumneke later died of gunshot wound he sustained. That following the distress call on 19th of July 2021 at about 1400 hours at the division police headquarters Nekede Owerri, that one Obumneke, armed with kitchen knife, was beating his wife Ogechi Favor. And when a pastor with the Redeemed Christian Church intervened by stopping him from stabbing his wife, the suspect rushed at him, stabbed him on his back, and he fell down unconscious. On arrival at the scene, the police team saw the suspect seriously beating his wife, threatening to stab her, and ran to prevent him from stabbing his wife. On sighting the police, he attempted stabbing one of the officers on the neck, and he was shot on the leg in defense. He fell down and was immediately disarmed. But the victims and suspect were rushed to Rosanna Hospital, where the doctor on call referred the victims to Human Race Hospital, where the pastor and the suspect were confirmed dead. The woman was admitted in the intensive care unit of the hospital, and she's responding to treatment, while the corpses were later deposited at Abala Mortuary. Abala Abatam said. The command spokesperson said that the exhibit knife was taken to the station, while the commissioner of police had ordered a discreet investigation into the case to unravel the cause of the incident. The CP also advised the community to maintain peace, be law-abiding, and go about their legitimate business pending the outcome of the investigation, he said. When I heard this story, I decided to make a video about it because I felt like there's an important message I want to put across. Let me actually start by saying that, you know, a pastor like that deserves to be praised. When I say praise, acknowledge what he did. It's unfortunate that he lost his life, but that was real bravery to have stepped in. And I don't think he would have imagined that the husband would have continued even after he stepped in. Most people would have maybe, that would have been enough to calm them down. But that was a massive sacrifice he made. I do feel sorry, and for his family and friends and relative, and may God give them the strength to bear the Lord. And that said, the area I want to address, you see, this story, they don't tell us if they were his church members or if he was just walking by and happens to come across this fight, or maybe they were neighbors or whatever. But I want to speak about our aspect, and I think it's more of an African thing. When a marriage has gone to such a terrible place, for people to still trying to patch it up and tell the couple to stay there and keep praying. I'm not now listen, make sure you listen to what I'm trying to say. There are times when marriage gets so bad that the couple should not be together for reasons like this. I've shared the story of my parents, domestic violence, and at the end of the day, the elders held a meeting and said, we were living then in Benin. They said my mother should go and live in our house in the village, and my father can stay in Benin. That way they were basically trying to prevent the physical violence. They felt like the violence was getting too much, to the point where something like this could have happened, and they decided to say, both of you go and live. My mother, they were still married, but they were no longer living under the same roof. So they were not seeing each other every single day. That's going to prevent a lot of the fights and arguments and stuff like that. That was what the elders agreed on, or decision they came on during this meeting. And so I'm bringing that aspect of that. There's a mega Nigerian GO that his marriage ended. I think the sister is actually, his sister is a pastor, but I think she was married to the choir master or something like that. And they had terrible marriage problems that the choir master used to bulala her a lot. It was so much to the point where this mega pastor decided to separate them. They went there, put them separate, because for the lady's safety. They didn't divorce, they were separated. But I think they finally came back together. The truth about marriage, a lot of Christians are too spiritual for the truth about marriage. I'm going to say it, right? Let me say something. The Bible talks about, let me tell you something that occurred to me one day when I was thinking about this. And I say, the Bible says that, what was that? Love covers a multitude of sin. Honestly, one day this dawned on me. Like, sometimes there are some Bible verses you may be reading, but sometimes you actually read it, and then you will get the real meaning. Or I see it as God showing you a real meaning. Love covers a multitude of sin. He said, love each other deeply. He says, love covers a multitude of sin. And I began to see that, you see, when love is gone from a marriage, when love is gone from a marriage, when people fall in love, right? That kind of love that be shaking you, that you're ready to, fight agbero for somebody's sake. That kind of love that is shaking you. Just like they say that the love is blind. You see, listen to this. So when you fall in love with somebody, there are some of their flaws you may not even see. He could be the worst snoring human being in the world. He could be whatever. Love will cause a blindness. You won't see any of that. Love will cover so much. There's so many things they do that love would cover. But when you lose that love, Bible says love covers multitude of sin. When you lose that love, there's no more covering for those sins. You begin to see his fault, her faults. Everything he does becomes pepper body. Everything she does is, this my wife is overweight. This my wife is this. My husband snores too much. Let me tell you, that snoring will become so loud, becomes unbearable, because that love that covers is no longer there. When you've lost that love, and then that you are no longer blind, you begin to see his flaws, begin to see her flaws. These things you did not see them before, because love is blind. Now the love is gone and the blindness is gone. It's like the blindfold is gone. You begin to see all the things that you were able to, the other things that you're able to endure and bear become so difficult. You see it clearly. Nothing is covering their imperfections anymore. When that happens in a marriage, that love is gone. Be careful about telling the couple to stay together. Listen to me carefully. I am not saying they should divorce. All I'm saying is be careful about leaving them to stay together. I have a friend right now that has problems in her marriage. And every time I'm trying to tell her, but think about this, she doesn't want to hear it. Because he has lost her love. He has completely lost her love. She can't stand him anymore. And she's not the only one. It happens. And you can see some of the things that is coming from his side as well. They can't stand each other anymore. The other day I was saying, I've said to people sometimes, don't forget that there was a time when you loved each other so much. I always say to people at the beginning, there's always a time when people loved each other so much that nothing mattered. Oh, he has K-leg. Oh, it doesn't matter. In short, the K-leg becomes the most attractive thing. I'm just using that as an example now. This is a bit superficial, but I'm just using it as an example. She has bow leg. The bow leg that used to be the thing that shocked him becomes irritating because there's no more love to cover. Love is blind. The love is no longer blind. Love begins to see all the faults. When it gets to that is such a terrible place to be. And that is when some of these things happen. This man that carried knife after a wife, think about it. There was a time he must have loved her so much that if they told him that a day would come when he would carry a knife and face her, it would be like, lie. There must have been a time when she was his tomato juice. There must have been a time when he was the only sugar in her tea. But when that love is gone, there are a lot of reasons why these things happen, right? Now, my point, I'm still going back to the point of recognizing as a pastor, as a preacher, as a Christian, when you advise people, recognize when you are not supposed to be over spiritual about it. Recognize when that love is gone. Because then people can do. Even that's why in divorce courts, a lot of countries, when couples come for a divorce, they have to be separated for 2 years. Some countries say 4 years, some countries say 2 years or whatever. Some say 1 year, because they want to give you guys time apart to go see whether maybe that love may come back. And when that love comes, there are couples that have separated and fell back in love. It happens. And then love begins to cover the multitude. They will even forgive each other as like it never happened. When that love comes back, that love begins to cover a multitude of sin again. That's why the Bible emphasizes, love each other deeply, to show that what deep love can cover a lot of things. When you love each other as human beings, as a couple, as brothers and sisters, it can help cover a lot of things. Couples that have gone separate ways, and then one day the love comes back. Why I say that again is this: it's okay for a preacher to tell people to go your separate ways and pray for them while they're apart. Those people that say stay there and keep praying are the ones that are making people delete themselves. It's okay to tell them to go their separate ways. You want to pray for them as a minister. You want to tell them to pray for each other, to pray for their marriage. They can do it while they're apart, so that at least they are alive while they are praying for their love to be restored. God can do that. God can do that. And then you see some couple that they fell apart, and then when they reconcile, hey, the love will be, when they reconcile and they fell back in love, that love came back in their hearts, they will reconcile like nothing ever happened. There's a saying in Nigeria, they used to say, when a couple is fighting, no pull out, because when they settle, now they go take settle. There are couples that when they fall apart, some people will be like, hey, don't mind your husband, or don't mind your wife. When they settle, they will not start telling each other, don't mind Obageli. Obageli told me that you're this. Don't mind. Do you know that some people that they will see a man cheating, they will not tell the wife. They say, tomorrow now when they reconcile, they will take reconcile. You can end up becoming their worst enemy. It happens. What I'm still going back to is, I'm trying to speak against, when you see that things have really fallen apart, be careful about telling couples to stay together. I grew up in a home where I saw domestic violence, and I always say it's not something that children should experience. People over spiritualize it. Now, there was another story about 5 years ago about a redeemed pastor. I think it was a redeemed pastor as well, that deleted his wife. It was also a knife. And believe it or not, the wives, I think it was the wife's family that said that they were like cat and mouse. The family members, including Titilayo's father, George, Oyahire, sister EJ, and mother-in-law, the 3 witnesses testified that the couple lived a cat and mouse life. And they claimed that the family had at several times settled serious fights between them. You see what I'm talking about? People will see, you cannot say, my daughter come home, my son. Separate them to prevent things like this. That pastor that time, he knifed his wife 70-something times. At the end of the day, that pastor was sentenced to rope on the neck. That was what his sentence was. And he was crying, it's the work of the devil, whatever. It was in the news. I think that was about 5 years ago. It was in the news. If they were separated, it's possible the wife may still be alive today. Even if they never reconcile, they may end up reconciling. But even if they never reconciled, wouldn't it have been better that they lived their separate lives and be alive than stay together? Now, I can't remember if that guy ended up getting the rope on the neck, if he really got it or not. So imagine, I can't even remember if they had kids. If they had gone their separate, even if they divorced, the children, they would have been alive, but divorced. Some people that they over spiritualize everything. There's no way you're going to tell me that what happened glorified God. Before God hates divorce, God hates divorce. I always said God hates that as well. What happened? God hates that as well. When some people say God hates divorce, I always say it sounds as if that's the only thing God hates. God hates this as well. He hates people deleting each other. He hates it as well. So before you say God, there are a lot of things. God hates lies and beating you. So many things God hates. I am coming from the angle of realizing when the signs of danger comes. Be careful about telling couples to stay together in situations like that. And also be careful about making mockery of those that walked away from situations like that. And when I saw that, I felt like there was something that I can pass on through this. Let's not over spiritualize marriage problems. When it's that heated, when it's that bad, it's okay for couples to go apart than to do this. Pray for them. If you're going to pray for them, there's nothing God cannot do. There's nothing God cannot do. But God gave us brains to use. And there's so many truths in the Bible. Like I said, love covers multitude of sins. Say, love each other deeply, because love covers multitude of sin. When you see that deep love is no longer there, and you can see that sins are not being covered anymore, that is when couples are most dangerous. That is when sins are no longer being covered. That is when it has gotten to the point where something like this can happen. It is okay for couples to go their separate ways. Let's not over-spiritualize marriages and marriage problems. It's unfortunate this pastor ended up sacrificing his life for this woman. This thing could have been avoided. And I can bet you that disagreement did not start today, but they keep patching it and over-spiritualize it. There's another time we shared about one, I think she was a Deeper Life member, that, the last post comment, her friend messaged her, and she replied and said, yeah, the devil is the liar, the devil tries to, her friend was kind of, I think, was advising her, your husband is always too violent, you have to save yourself or something like that. And she was like, oh, it's just the work of the devil is trying to ruin my marriage or whatever. And the next thing the friend heard was that she's been deleted by the same husband that they were warning her about. Let's apply wisdom. Don't over spiritualize some things that are right there in front of you. It gets to a point where the right thing to do is to tell a couple, go your separate ways. Go your separate ways. Some may go separate ways and after reconcile. But even if it is permanent, it is better, especially when there are children involved, better for them to go their separate ways and be alive for their children or for their families than for them to end up like this. I really hope that, like I always say, when you see stories like this, you always ask, what can we take from it? You don't share it for the fun of sharing it. You share it because of what is the message for those of us that we may not be affected, but for us to learn from. So much to learn from this. There are times when the best thing for couples is for them to go their separate ways. There are some times, temporary, permanently, whatever it takes for them to stay alive. That is how I see this anyways. I saw that and I wanted to come here and share with you guys. And as always, whatever your opinions are, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. And with that, I'm going to say thank you for watching. Until the next time, guys. Bye-bye. Bye.